your girl's looking a little flat. It's always unfortunate when what I'm reviewing requires that I put my foundation on first, because all I have on right now is foundation, concealer, and brows, and it's not a look. Today, we are going to be trying out the Saie Beauty Dewy Blush in Dreamy and Poppy, and I also picked up their Glowy Super Gel in Star Glow. If for context, anybody who has not been to my channel before, this is your first Saie Beauty video that you are watching of mine, I would like to place this in the context of, this is like Saie's last chance with me. I have reviewed, I guess I only did one video of theirs, but I have also watched several of my favorite and trusted influencers, one of them being Hannah Louise Poston, tried a lot of products, some of which I have not tried, and had similar experiences to the ones that I had trying their initial round of products. So I tried their brow product, their mascara, their lip gloss, the original lip gloss, and their Dew Balm. Was that everything? Either way, incredibly underwhelming, oversold, under-delivered, such bad formulas. It was kind of a fiasco, and I have seen hit or miss reviews on their releases ever since. The reason that I even spent the money to try these is because not everyone, but a lot of people asked me to. Maybe they thought it would be funny, but maybe they were genuinely interested. And other people were like, you know, if Saie is going to do anything that you should review, it should be blush, because we are the blush fam. We love blush. We are going to try and make these cheap products work today. So I am giving you all of that context, but I do want to say that if I ever buy something, I want to like it. I don't want this to be something where I am so begrudgingly reviewing these that I am so convinced that I'm not going to like them that I'm determined not to like them. I am going to go into this with a level head. But I do want to start by including one thing that I feel like if you watch this video, you cannot leave without hearing, and that is there are lots of beautiful, gorgeous brands out there by non-white founders that have to do twice the work for half the credit for their beautiful and innovative formulas and their very inclusive shade ranges. And that stands in stark contrast to something founded by a white girl in this case, backed by, I'm assuming, quite a bit of investor money, and that has honestly shown us who they are. We should believe them by now, and yet they get picked up by Sephora, and here I am trying them again. So even me spending the money and reviewing these is conflicting for me, but in the interest of using my platform for good, I would rather use it as an opportunity to talk about that phenomenon than to just ignore it and not try them. So I'm going to really try and wash my brain clean now of all of those preconceived notions, move you guys in, and we're gonna really give these an honest to God whirl. I, again, only have my complexion products on so far. Just foundation, concealer, and a little bit of under eye powder and my brows. We're going to watercolor these the way that I would typically apply blush. These are $22 a piece. They come with this big fat doe foot applicator that is exactly the same as the one from Lila B that is in their lip oil. And I'm having some trouble swatching these because I do have the remnants of a blue swatch on my hand that I cannot get off. But this is Dreamy and this is Poppy. And this is the blue swatch that I can't get off my hand. The directions on this say to gently wipe off any excess, because I'm assuming that they are quite pigmented, and to dab on your cheeks and use your fingers, which is not typically my modus operandi of Latin. Let's try another language you can't pronounce, Kackie, of applying blush, especially a liquid blush, but I want to try it by their instructions. Dab, 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 dab. Okay, yeah, I see why they say wipe off the excess, because that is quite pigmented. And I don't have powder on my cheeks, but I did take a piece of toilet paper and dab the moisture off of my foundation because I felt like it was a little bit much. So it's not gonna have a whole lot of slip underneath it. Maybe we try a brush first. I do like using the Thrive brushes for creams and just see if that moves around or if it's going to really stay put. It seems to want to spread pretty nicely. It's not picking up a whole ton of my product that I already have on my face. Gently wipe off. The color is not what I expected. It's a lot more raspberry once it gets on my skin, because you see it goes on, it looks like it's going to be kind of a cool bricky rose. And when it spreads out, at least on me, it goes a lot more fuchsia. But everything turns pink on me. I'm a broken record about that. So you could do this with your fingers, absolutely. I just find that my fingers are very small tools for the large area that I want to be applying blush to. It gets a little tedious. I always say makeup should be easy and fun. I think makeup should be easy and fun because otherwise I will lose my patience. Otherwise I get bored. And if you are new to my channel, we really like blush here, and I am always trying to mimic a flush that you would get from taking a lap in cold weather. We call it Fjord's Cheeks here, and you know, even new people a lot of times ask me, what are you guys talking about with the whole fjords thing? It comes from being a Nordic child running through the fjords. And you can't run through fjords, I'm well aware, but we can. And we do. And we are, you know, basically getting that flush that takes up your whole cheek, not just, you know, a rosy cheek thing here. And I will blend that a little bit better, just kind of getting my bearings with this formula. But that's why you see me pull it all the way down, and then I'll just kind of watercolor into smaller and smaller areas. Blush draping, that kind of thing. So I do want to put a little bit of that on my forehead if there's anything left on my brush here. There seems to be. Do that. It's a nice color. That's dreamy. I actually, while that's their instruction to place it directly on your skin and then spread it out, and it doesn't not do that. I am losing pimple coverage and stuff like that, trying to spread that out after the fact. I would use something that is a lot less agitating to the skin to apply that, something like a sponge, or to dab it with a brush or with my fingers, but like put it on the back of my hand first so that I spread the product out a little bit better before putting it on my skin, because trying to spread it out after the fact is a little difficult, but that is not at all bad. It's not bad. I really like the shade. I know that I said that it wasn't what I expected, but the way that it kind of starts to pull pink but maintain a little bit of a cool undertone on me really pulls out a flattering set of colors from my lips. So that looks very native to my skin, and then I think Poppy is going to be kind of editorializing on that because it's so different. It's much more of this coral shade. So wipe, wipe, wipe. Wipe, wipe, wipe. Okay, we're gonna go with the way that I was recommending doing it, which we'll see if it works. Doing that number, and we will see how they layer here. I'm being very, very gentle. I spread it out really evenly on the back of my hand first. And they dry down. They dry down almost completely eventually. I think that the only real movability that's left behind has to do with it mixing with my complexion product. If it were on completely bare skin, it would dry down entirely eventually. I'm gonna have to go back in and touch up with some concealer on my forehead. I have about 800 little KP spots that I cleared out, so that is cool. And I think that they actually recommend doing the highlighter first before you put the blush on, but I really wanted to see what the blush does alone, so I'm kind of going against the grain, and I'm sorry if it doesn't work, it's my fault. This is the Star Glow Super Gel stuff, and it is a gel and it is cooling, and it really is very much nothing like the blush. So I don't really know the best way to put this on. Maybe we just do that. It's just so wet. But that blush dries down so much that I almost feel like we can get away with it. I do like how cooling it feels on my skin though. That's pretty. That's pretty. It's easier to use than I expected it to be because it feels like a lot of stuff on your skin at first, but honestly, you know what it feels like? It feels like the Thrive Brilliant Face Brightener. It feels like their illuminating primer. Are we losing a little bit of product there? I think it picked up a little bit right there because it's so wet. Again, I claim responsibility for that because I am using it against the indication. It says to use this first. So I'm gonna let that dry down and we will see how much of the glow sticks around, but I am going to touch up with a little bit more complexion product. I've been using the Pat McGrath concealer. I love it so much. I still don't know if I love it under my eyes, even though that is what I'm using under my eyes, but everywhere else, man. Woo. And I think it also has to do with the fact that her shade range is so robust, so this match is really good. So yeah, ooh, yeah, lost a lot of blush over there just from the friction of me applying that. I might put some more blush on top of that. We'll do that. A little bit of that kind of in the middle. Yeah, that's like gone now. Kackie. Well, just let the record show that if that is your way of doing things, that will pick your blush back up, move it around. And then Pat McGrath swoops in and just basically puts itself on for you. Like, are you kidding me right now? This stuff is ridiculous. Sublime perfection. She's not wrong. Look at it camouflage those zits. They're not zits, they're KP spots that my AHA has pushed to the top. Oh, I got my concealer in my hair. Well, that's been known to happen. That my AHA pushed up and my skin is kind of purging, and your girl can't help herself, okay? That's not an endorsement for picking, but I personally couldn't help myself. All right, let's put on a little bit more blush because we always do. And I'm going to try a sponge. Let's try a sponge. I'm using this Poppy shade. I do like that this is actually a shade that looks like a poppy. There might be a reason they don't recommend doing that. Yeah, it's not laying any product down. It's like it just kind of sticks to the wet sponge and then doesn't go back on my face. So that's, again, me trying it even though that's not what they recommend. Come on, lay back down. Sorta. Yeah, you know. This side didn't pick up as badly. I just want a little more color. And liquid blushes are always going to be a little bit more finicky putting them on because, you know, there are two steps. There's a wet and then a dry versus a cream where you can just kind of keep working it indefinitely. But you also get the payoff of that, which is it's going to wear longer and it's going to be less transfer-y. It's going to be less transfer-y. So that's the trade-off. Okay, I'm gonna zoom through the rest of my makeup real quick and we will chat claims on this, and also I will swatch them against some things that I think are comparable to them for context's sake and explain my thoughts on that, and then we will go into final thoughts on these. Hello. Okay, so this is the vibe. I put some contour on from Salt, New York. You can see it kind of pushed it around a little bit. It's not unlike other liquid blush formulas that I have found, and I wouldn't usually apply my contour afterwards, but it is worth noting that any liquid is going to maybe have more of a propensity towards disagreeing with creamier products that you try and blend it with. So just bear that in mind. I also used my Pat McGrath palette on my eyes. Can we talk about this eye look real quick? I just used mostly this insane shade right here that shifts basically holographically like a full-on rainbow in the light. There it is, there it is. Do you see that? Ooh, girl. Yes. It's basically like a holographic white and or a holographic clear almost. And I put that everywhere, and then I just did a little bit of shading in the crease, and that was it. and then just my eyeliner and everything, and I'm really into it. And I also happened to stumble back across the one new Pat McGrath gloss that I hadn't gotten to share yet, and it totally goes with it. So this is Dare to Bear, and it is a lovely iridescent baby pink, and I just feel like it goes with the whole vibe today. All right, I'm going to pull these up on the website and talk about them. Dewy Blush is a creamy, water-based gel blush that gives a natural flush of easy, just pinched color. That is why it does not want to agree with the contour that I used, is because that contour is very much wax-based or oil-based, and this is, you know, those two things, water and oil, it's an expression for a reason because they don't tend to agree with one another. Wayne Goss is one of the, you know, first people to say it, but I say it all the time too. You know, make sure that when you're using a primer and a foundation, or a foundation and a concealer, or any face products, that you're kind of thinking about what the base of that product is and whether or not they agree with one another, because a lot of times it'll make something look like it's not a good product just because you're using it with something that tends to repel it. So a silicone versus anything that is silicone free, or something oil-based versus something water-based, wax and water, things like that. They will tend to, one tends to kind of defeat the other in a lot of cases, depending on how emollient the formula is. And so in this case, I would probably want to go the oil first, just because there's also oil in my foundation and my concealer, and then probably put the blush on. So you know, it's not that they necessarily will make each other look horrible in all instances, but it will be positively influenced by the order that you apply them. So that was my bad. Our soft doe foot applicator and lightweight formula let you create an easy, barely there tint, or it can be built upon for a deeper wash of color, never streaky or patchy. It melts right into your skin for a seamless, lit from within flush. And I should say, I am absolutely not any kind of formulation expert. I just have noticed those kinds of things. Back during Clean Routine 2019, I used to read all of the ingredients out loud, and it was tedious, but it helped me learn a lot about what's in things. Okay, I clearly have no idea how these kinds of things work, because when you look at the ingredients on the Saie Dewy Blush, water isn't in there either. I don't know what isocetylstearoyl stearate is. Glycerin might be water-based, I don't know. Yeah, and then they have like elderberry fruit extract, which might be suspended in water. Licorice root extract, alba white mulberry root extract, comfrey leaf extract, evening primrose root extract. Sure, those might be water-based, and that might be what I am getting confused about. So someone please tell me in the comments. It comes in 4 shades that are apparently all completely sold out on their website. Wow. So besides Poppy and Dreamy that I got, which are the two, I don't know, they kind of go light, like sort of go neutral to robust. I got the 2 more robust shades because then they have 2, there's one called Rosy and one called Peachy. So I would almost assume that these are more saturated in comparison, and so they're sort of meant for deeper skin tones, but I could be wrong. You know, they might just be colors that all look good on everybody, who knows. You can pay $22 a piece for these, or they have a duo for $38 on site. Illuminated Dewy Prime whatever, glowy super gel and star glow is $25, and it comes in 2 shades. So there is kind of a deeper gold that is also very, very pretty, but would show up very gold on me, and very different to me from the Dew Balm. About the same amount of sheen, to be honest. I like it. I like it a lot better than the Dew Balm. The Dew Balm is super waxy, oily, greasy, and it really just doesn't do anything on the skin no matter how much you put on. It really reminds me a lot of the Jones Road Beauty, that Miracle Balm stuff, and I know I make everybody real mad when I say that, but I think that they're silly. So that one says, welcome to the glowiest lightweight luminizer. Wear it alone or under or mixed with foundation or tinted SPF as a primer. Ah, yes. Okay, so the first ingredient in this actually is water, and they recommend mixing it with your foundation, but that, I would caution against that. I would say, and I think that they do actually say, not on here, but on the Sephora website, they say, if you're not sure if it's going to work with what you're mixing it with, try it on the back of your hand first, because it's a little weird to do a water-based product that's meant to be mixed with foundations. Most foundations are not water-based because that does not make things particularly long-wearing. That's just been my experience. There have been a couple of water-based foundations that I've tried where I was like, yep, I could tell this was water-based, you know, like Juice Beauty, it just kind of washed right off my face. So yeah, you know, an interesting take, an interesting spin, but I would definitely caution against thinking that this is going to be a universal mixer illuminator type thing. I would probably go for like the Danessa Myricks, Auric Glow Lust. What am I trying to think of? The Ilia. I'm gonna grab them and I'm going to swatch them. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna swatch now. I have things to swatch with things. We have the Auric Glow Lust. Oh, wow. We have the Ilia Liquid Light. Ooh, wow. We have the Danessa Myricks Illuminating Veil. Oh, wow. And then we have the Saie Beauty Glowy Super Gel. So you can see it is much wetter and it's much more of a wet texture. It does have shimmer in it, it does have mica in it, but it is not quite as pack-a-punch as these two are, and I actually put more of this on inadvertently, but I you know, these are really, really tiny little drops that I did of these two, and this one a little bit more came out of the bottle. All right, ignore the actual shades that I chose because I grabbed them really quickly, but for the sake of comparing the formulas here, this is Dreamy, and this is Poppy. This is the Daniel Sandler Liquid watercolor, because there is a gel watercolor. This is in Chelsea. This right here is Venetian Rose from M Cosmetics. Here we have Mango. This is why I said ignore the actual color. This is more of a mixer shade, but this is what the gel color looks like from Daniel Sandler. And then this is Joy from Rare Beauty. It is their, I want to say they're like dewy blush. I can't remember which one's dewy and which one is matte, but they kind of look the same to me. And I would say that I would compare these to somewhere between Daniel Sandler and Rare Beauty. They don't have anywhere near the amount of pigment as the Rare Beauty ones do, and that's good. That's a good thing because the Rare Beauty ones are really overwhelming to me. They just kind of like, it's so easy to have too much product on your face really quickly, but they could be a little bit more pigmented for my taste. I do appreciate the nuance of the shades, although I do feel like Poppy just completely got lost. But other than that, I mean, I think that we got a really, really beautiful look out of it, and I do like the texture. I'm gonna move you guys out and we will just chat final thoughts on this release real quick. Okay, let's chat final thoughts here. So the blushes, I am not mad at whatsoever. Everything that I said about water solubility and water-based formulations, I clearly have no idea what I'm talking about because they have included emulsifiers, #chemistry, in there that make it so that it is emulsified with something that makes it not water soluble on my skin. But it was pushed around by a heavier product, being the Sol New York on a brush, so bear that in mind, but I would just apply it in a different order than I did, or just use a different combination of products. It's not like the water, you know, it's not like it's gonna rain on you or you're gonna hit it with like a finishing spray or something and it's just gonna like drool off of your face. I have worn products like that. This is not that. This does have wear time, staying power, you know, it's not water soluble. The shades that I picked out, I really, really like. I also think that one of the really important things for me from a pigmentation standpoint of a product is that you can blend it and get a gradient, and so it's not like the Rare Beauty blush, I think that the hardest part about it is that as you blend it, it won't feather out on the edges. So it's like you have to lay it down really sheer or you're screwed, because if you try and put it down and then spread it out, it's going to be really inconsistent in its saturation. And so it'll be saturated at the edges of where you're trying to blend it instead of giving you a really nice blended edge. This does a really good job of disappearing to nothing when you blend it out, and it still packs a good punch when you do layer it up. So I do feel like my face is just continually eating it definitely, so I would probably continue reapplying it if I wanted to, but lots of blushes do that. I don't think that that's necessarily a fault specifically of this formula. Now, the highlighter. They call this a glowy super gel. I think I am the one who is mistaking this for a highlighter, because as I play with it more, what it really is a primer. And they say that it's a primer. You know, they say you can use it as a primer, mix it with things, what have you, and that's absolutely fine, because what it really reminds me of is the Thrive Brilliant Face Brightener and or the Vesca Soft Sun Radiant Skin, in the sense that it's not really giving you a whole lot of glittery, glowy payoff. It's more of a hydrating, slightly illuminating skincare type base product. It's not meant to be necessarily a highlighter in the way that I used it. It worked, it did, but if you're expecting something like the Ilia Liquid Light, it ain't that. And you pay more for this. I mean, I would argue you don't need to pay this much, but you pay more for this because you get more illumination for the amount of product that you're using, but that's because this is intended to be a liquid highlighter. I really think this is meant to be a versatile multi-use product that probably works best in most people's application situation as a primer. Final thoughts now, putting it in context of the rest of their collection. I feel like the brand is taking notes, or they just got lucky. They might have just gotten lucky. The way that I would describe their previous releases were that they were not even really private labeled feeling, because private labeled stuff tends to be kind of boring, but it tends to work because it's right off the shelf. It is usually directly straight down the middle, a quintessence, if you will, of whatever that product is. If it's a highlighter, it's gonna be a shiny thing you put on your face. If it's a concealer, it's gonna be a flesh colored thing you put on your face. You know, it might not blow your mind, but it's a thing and it usually does what it says it's going to do. The formulas that have come out of Saie so far have been inexplicable. I have not tried their slipcover, but like their formulas have been so either nothing to write home about, or in the case of that eyebrow product, hilariously ill-conceived. And so this is a step in the right direction, but I will reiterate, I will book into this video by saying there are plenty of other brands founded by not white people who have done twice the work for half the credit for a very, very long time. And yet Saie Beauty has all of this recognition for genuinely now having what I would consider to be 2 good products and 1 that's fine. And most of the rest of them, I would not ever recommend you spending your money on based on the reviews that I have seen from friends of mine on the ones that I haven't tried, and also based on the ones that I have tried. So that is my view on this. I do genuinely really like these blushes, and I hope that this was helpful. I hope this was helpful. If it was, give it a thumbs up. If you want to keep hanging out with me on this channel, hit the button down below and subscribe. I would love it if you did. Thank you so much for watching and for hanging out with me today, guys. I love you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.